year 2003 found a new government in place. This government was keen on change, overwhelmed with ideas and needed direction to make a turnaround. There were a myriad of organizations, all claiming to be the voice of the private sector, several times contradicting each other with short-term solutions.
In 2002, after the NAC government came in, they asked the question because, again, different organizations went and said, no, we are the voice of the business community.
It was ridiculous. We would all walk into the president. When we see the president, or, we all go with very many mundane lists of things.
There was indecision in government because of that. You get a view saying do X, somebody says do the other side, do the opposite, and therefore there was no unification of voices.
So the government turned around and said, listen, who is the voice of the business community? We want one voice.
And they said, would like you to create an umbrella body of all the commercial and business associations of the country.
So they came in after I settled in office and paid a courtesy call on me as the speaker. And we discussed a number of issues of common interest.
There is no business that can operate in the absence of a good partnership with government. And that's what really motivated the private sector to be very proactively involved.
The defining moment was the Mombasa meeting between the government people and private sector leaders to discuss the economic recovery strategy.
We had to do a lot of work to convince various leaders who headed various associations and large federations within the sectors to agree to come together. Through that process, we were able to assemble all the leaders and we were able to agree that Kepsa will be the unified body of the business community.
This was an interesting time for the business community because since independence it had been that government was the leader and all-round authority on all matters to do with economy, education, healthcare, infrastructure, energy, technology and so on.
Professor Anyang' Nyong'o also played a very positive role in ensuring that the partnership thrived.
The first 3 years, I would say, were extremely exciting, I must say. I think you remember those were the heydays of Kenya's very, very optimistic times after the tremendous support of the government. Kenya was rated one of the happiest nations on earth. And that had a very positive impact on the spirit and engagement of the private sector.
We do two things mainly. One is really to develop the partnership between government and private sector through what we call the public-private dialogue platforms. Secondly, we also get involved in investments, encouraging investments into the country and investments outside the country and investments around the country and the growth of investments so that the local companies and the foreign companies can also expand. By the same time, we can attract more investments into the country and into the region. Our membership is both corporates and the associations. And so we look at the different aspects, whether it's agriculture, energy, security, infrastructure. There are about 18. We mirror ourselves with what government is doing, the different sectors of the economy.
I would say since Kepsa was formed, we never looked back. It has been very effective and it has really supported the government in shaping and guiding the way forward.
We created the roundtable with the Prime Minister. We created the roundtable with the Speaker of the House. We created a roundtable with the judiciary. That means at every place there are problems. And every place we need to straighten it out.
From 2003, the prior government policy was based on what was called PRSP. That is Poverty Reduction Strategy Paper. And jointly, government and private sector, when we came into the committee, where I was a member representing Kepsa, we found that the mindset and the philosophy we needed to bring to Kenyans was not about poverty reduction. It was about growth. It's about employment and wealth creation. And therefore, we changed the terminology. And it now became Economic Recovery Strategy, which is ERS, for employment and wealth creation. And it is motivating when you tell people the strategy is about creating wealth. It picked very well. It became government policy for the next 5 years.
During this period, the economy maintained a rapid growth of 7% compared to negative growth in 2002. Based on the success of the ERS, the government started developing a new strategic long-term plan. In June 2008, the government launched Vision 2030. The long-term goals of this vision are to create a prosperous and globally competitive nation with a high quality of life by the year 2030. To do this, it aims to transform Kenyan industry all the while creating a clean and secure environment.
We brought views from the private sector, views from government, views from the development partners, views from the civil society, and came up with a shared vision for Kenya. How would Kenya look in 2030?
I think when we talk about Vision 2030 being the flagship for our country's economic growth, political and social pillars, I think the issue is some of the gains you don't see, because when you lobby and when you make the environment better, people don't appreciate it, people don't see it, but they live it, they feel it. Right now there's a huge amount of optimism around the country in counties, in doing various things in counties, and I think there's a lot of optimism being shown by business people, people in NGOs, and people saying let's work together. The whole public-private partnership mode is beginning to look good.